Hello and welcome back, Bison football fans. Dave Cicchini coming at you with a recap of our big game against Colgate. It was great to be back in Christy Mathewson Memorial Stadium. The weather cooperated. Unfortunately, we had a couple of players ill, including our starting quarterback, Nick Septenfelter. It was a hard-fought game. Low scoring, very dominated by both defenses. Colgate came in with a huge rushing attack. We actually outrushed them during the game, did a better job running the football offensively. Had some big drives. Unfortunately, it just didn't result into any points, so we were down at halftime. We came roaring back in the second half with our best drive of the day, resulting in a touchdown. Down 13-7, we had two shots. Late drives in the fourth quarter to try to score the winning touchdown. Took the football down to about the 35, 40-yard line and turned it over on downs. And then had a last gasp play at the very end of the game, right around midfield. So we came up short, which was certainly disappointing. We felt like we really outplayed Colgate for most of the game. Probably the biggest determining factor was we had one turnover on a muffed punt, and Colgate, despite as dominant as our defense was throughout the game, they protected the football. We didn't get any fumbles or any interceptions. So we move on. Before we get to talk about our next home game against the Fordham Rams, I want to introduce our two very special guests. To my right, we've got Casey Stevenson from Philadelphia. Casey's an offensive lineman, specifically a guard for us. And to my left, we got Michael Bright, who is a defensive end that went actually from New Jersey, but you did a prep year up in Connecticut, correct?
Yeah, Hotchkiss boarding school.
Okay, what was that like, just in terms of going through the recruiting process, basically twice, right? Once when you were a senior, and then once at Hotchkiss doing your prep year. Tell us what that was about.
So the process was almost like, I guess, the same in the aspect. It was just like, now I have more experience that I've already been through it. Now the school itself, it's pretty much like a smaller version of Bucknell. I mean, from the scenery to the academics, we didn't have a normal high school schedule where you had, these 7 classes during the day and that's it. You might have 1 class on Monday, 3 classes on Wednesday, and it was always, you have to walk to class. It's not all the classes in one building. There's multiple buildings scattered around. But because of COVID, it got cut short and we all got sent home in February. But I got to experience at least the fall and then the football aspect of it. So when I came to Bucknell, I was used to the, go to class and, have meetings and then practice and then, traveling across the state for games. Whereas back in Jersey, you travel 15 minutes to the nearby high school to play your games.
Right. Now, do you feel like having that extra year made you appreciate Bucknell and ultimately led you to choosing Bucknell? Would you have not chosen Bucknell if you would have just gone through and ended your recruiting at the end of your senior year of high school?
Well, the way it was looking, I didn't have any Patriot League offers before I applied and went to Hotchkiss boarding school. I had Morgan State, Howard, and LIU Post right before they went D1, and Morgan State and Howard, their coaching staffs, left to William and Mary and other places right before signing day. So it was either go to LIU or, hear about this new opportunity where I can redo my senior year and, get more recruiting. So I ended up doing that. And then I think it was a month after word got out that I was going to Hotchkiss boarding school that, Bucknell, Lehigh, and Fordham immediately just, hopped on the wagon, I guess.
Okay. All right. Now, you do have a connection to Bucknell. Obviously, your father in the Hall of Fame here, one of the more famous basketball players, basketball alums in Bucknell's storied basketball history. Did that have any play, and do you kind of still feel the weight of your father being a student here?
Well, the first thing my dad said once, Bucknell hit me up and said they were going to offer me, it was just like, don't pick it because of him or don't pick it because of my mom, because they both met here. He's, pick what you feel would be more home to you. And it was between Lehigh and Bucknell, but Lehigh had too many hills for me to walk up and down. So I just say, you know what, Bucknell's pretty flat.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, in the sport aspect, since my father ran Davis Gym like it was his home, that was his spot. I feel like there is a shadow that I'm in, as in like I have to live up to his athletic expectations since we play different sports, but in the household, it's not that. My father encouraged me to be the best that I can be, and to not let what he did set the bar for me.
Sure, absolutely. Casey, looking at you, obviously a incredible freshman year, came in here, started on the offensive line as a freshman, and then going into your sophomore year, you suffered a terrible injury. Can you just take everybody through what happened to you and the rehab process, really a year-long rehab process to get you back to where you are today?
Yeah, so it was, I think, a little over, or just about, actually just under a year. And I tore my Achilles the first day of camp coming in. And, it was obviously like detrimental and everything like that. Had to get right back into rehab. Obviously took a little time off. I cut a lot of weight, dropped down a lot of weight because I wanted to rebuild myself back up as I'm coming back from rehab. Long months of rehab, kind of like going through long phases of the same things, then getting the new stuff, new progressions, and definitely made me a better player, for sure. It made me grind a lot harder, and it made me focus on more of the little things that I didn't work on before, and now I feel like overall that I'm a more complete football player.
Great. Now, you talk about cutting weight. So how big were you your freshman year versus what were you weighing in at the start of your junior year here?
During the season, I was 305 to 310 my freshman year. Got down to about 290, 280 going into camp. Dropped 30 pounds after the surgery. And then right now I'm sitting at about 280.
Okay, so starting to build back up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, outstanding. Now, you hail from the Philadelphia area.
Yes,
all right, obviously you got the Phillies in the World Series. You got an undefeated Eagles team. Are you into the
Yes,
sports
sir.
scene down in Philadelphia?
Most definitely. I'll never forget the Eagles Super Bowl parade.
Okay.
Never forget. Hopefully we can get a Phillies parade this year too.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about offensive line play. So many people out there, Bison football supporters, the nuance, the X's and O's, an offensive lineman is kind of the anonymous player that's out there. Really, the only time that you're put under the spotlight is when you get called for holding or something like that. What's your favorite blocking scheme? What do you enjoy most as a guard?
Anything where I'm pulling, anything where I can get out into open space. I love putting people on their butts. I love knocking people over, getting pancakes. It's my favorite thing, opposing somebody else's will against them.
Yeah, and you do a great job of that. Obviously, having a very physical, you're known for lots of pancakes and whatnot. Talk to me about Coach Giacalone, our offensive line coach. What is kind of his philosophy? How does he tend to approach the game from a mental standpoint, and what he teaches in terms of becoming the best offensive lineman you can be?
He for sure always tries to get us mentally prepared as best as possible with all the Google Docs folders that we have, everything that we can look at throughout the week, even before we come in on Tuesday after our Monday off days, that we can look over and get familiar with before even having our first practice or first meetings. So, that always helps, especially with younger people who are playing, like Gavin Kennedy, a freshman.
Sure.
That is definitely a resource that we love and we definitely enjoy. And also he preaches about physicality, running off the ball, being physical with people, and just moving people out their way and trying to get the job done.
Now, obviously, you mentioned Gavin, a freshman who's playing more and more with each passing week. You played a ton as a freshman as well. What was it like switching from the high school playbook to the Division I college football playbook? What was the steps, the learning curve that was involved there?
I wouldn't really say it's much of a learning curve. Just coming in, I think the biggest thing is the terminology. We had different terminology, and just switching it over from senior year high school to freshman year in college, that was just like the biggest thing for me because I kept using old terminology.
Sure. Yeah, it's like learning a foreign language in some regards. So, well, good. Well, thanks, fellas. I appreciate you guys stopping by and spending some time with us. Again, big game coming up this week, the Fordham Rams. They are 6-2. They are ranked in the top 25. This is our second league opponent that will play that's ranked in the top 25. One of the top offenses in the nation. It's going to be an exciting football game, a game that our players are going to be ready to go. It's going to be a big challenge. We hope to see all of you there, Christy Mathewson Memorial Stadium on Saturday. Canines for Christy, a chance for you to bring your dog as well. Should be a great time, and we hope to see you there. Thank you for your support, and go Bison.